It's a mystery that haunts even the most beloved TV shows. A character is sitting at the dinner table one week, and by the next, they've vanished like yesterday's ratings report. And no, we're not talking about without a trace. There are no heartfelt farewells, no dramatic exits, sometimes not even a passing mention. Today, we're uncovering 10 TV characters who disappeared faster than you could say, season finale. It's a phenomenon so common, it has its own name, Cunningham Syndrome, coined after the original TV vanishing act, Richie Cunningham's brother from Happy Days. So before we mysteriously disappear, hit that like and subscribe button to help us keep the retro TV deep dives rolling. And trust us, you'll want to stick around for number 1. The story behind the guy who gave this syndrome its name. It finally gets a little clearer, sort of. Let's dive in. Number 10, Nick Moore, Family Ties. TV can be wild, right? 1 minute, a leather-jacketed, gravel-voiced artist strolls in for a cameo, and the next, he's the breakout star hijacking the whole show. That's what happened with Nick Moore, Mallory Keaton's quirky boyfriend played by Scott Valentine. Introduced in season 4 for just 1 episode, Nick clicked so well with audiences that producers couldn't get rid of him. NBC executives saw gold. Literally, Nick was such a hit that the network tried to spin him off. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. The first was Taking It Home, where Nick moves in with his grandfather, played by Herschel Bernardi. Tragically, Bernardi passed away before the show could go to series. So they tried again, this time, Nick working at a juvenile detention center. Yep, you heard that right. But the scripts never landed, and the idea was quietly shelved. Then came The Art of Being Nick, where our favorite oddball artist heads to New York to live with his sister and nephew. It even had a guest spot by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, pulled in strong ratings, and then NBC just passed. No series order, nothing. When The Art of Being Nick flopped, Nick returned to Family Ties for one last appearance at the end of season 7, and then, on. No big goodbye, no final moment, just, poof. Behind the scenes, Family Ties was wrapping up and producers wanted to narrow the focus to the core family. So farewell Nick, or actually, just fade to black. But seriously, is it not strange that NBC spent 2 years trying to give this guy a spin-off and couldn't write him a proper farewell scene? Drop a comment if you were Team Nick, or if you think the show was better off without him. Scott Valentine kept acting for a while before moving into producing and business consulting. But for fans of 80s sitcoms, Nick Moore remains one of the all-time great, what could have been, story. Now, let's move on to number 9. Tiffany Holloway, 227. In NBC's golden era of must-see TV, even the kids weren't safe from the mysterious vanishing act. Enter Tiffany Holloway, the sweet, soft-spoken daughter of Rose on 227, played by Kia Goodwin. From her debut in season 1, she blended seamlessly into the show's warm neighborhood vibe, becoming Brenda's best friend and a gentle presence in the cast. With Rose as a loving single mom, Tiffany provided a calm foil to Brenda's fiery energy. Apartment building buzzed with life, anchored by Mary, yes, the Jeffersons' Marla Gibbs, and the ever-fabulous Sondra, played by Jackie Harry. Oh, and speaking of icons, Mary's daughter Brenda. That's a young Regina King in one of her first major roles. But let's get back to Tiffany. After season 2, gone, no farewell, no story arc, not even a Tiffany moved away mention. She appeared in just 1 episode of season 3, The Sing-Off, and then disappeared into sitcom oblivion. It was as if Rose never had a daughter. The show continued on like nothing happened. I mean, picture your mom just pretending you never existed. So what really happened? It wasn't bad writing or a creative shift, it was reality. Kia Goodwin's mother wasn't a fan of living in California. NBC agreed to release the young actress from her contract so they could move back to New York. Just like that, Tiffany Holloway was history. The strangest part, the show never explained it. No summer camp, no extended family stay. No, she's off to a new school. The entire 227 universe just collectively decided not to talk about her again. It was like the writers thought ignoring it would make the audience forget a whole child ever existed. The rest of the core cast stayed until the end, but Tiffany became one of network TV's most quietly erased characters. A soft goodbye without even a wave. Did anyone else remember watching and thinking, wait, where's Tiffany? Number 8. Amy Amanda Allen, The A-Team. I've got a plan. Well, too bad no one planned a proper send-off for AAA. The A-Team was famous for its explosions, disguises, and Mr. T's epic one-liners, but it clearly wasn't famous for handling character exits with grace. Amy Amanda Allen, AAA, not to be confused with Triple H, was the show's civilian heartbeat, played by Melinda Collier. From the very first episode, she brought intelligence, guts, and a notepad into the chaos. She wasn't just tagging along, she gave us a grounded POV amid the bullets and bravado. Behind the scenes, it wasn't all high fives and teamwork. Collier wanted Amy to grow, to get her hands dirty, maybe even fire a few shots herself. The producers weren't on board. And then there was George Peppard. Word is, he wasn't keen on sharing the screen. Rumors swirled that he wanted the A-Team to be just that. A team of men, no girls allowed in the action club. It was the 80s, a time when networks believed action shows needed a strict, testosterone-only policy. Male leads. Those were for family dramas and rom-coms, not for shows with grenade launchers and chase scenes. So by mid-season 2, Amy was gone. No send-off, no final mission, just a single line, she's on assignment in Jakarta. And poof, AAA was MIA. NBC tried to fill the gap with a new character, Tonya Baker, but lightning didn't strike twice. Or at all. She vanished too. The series continued, all explosions and adrenaline, but without Amy, something felt missing. Just imagine what could have been if she stayed: character growth, new dynamics, a little more heart in the chaos. Instead, Amy Amanda Allen became yet another case of Chuck Cunningham Syndrome. A promising character erased, not by storytelling, but by silence. Number 7, Julie Cooper, One Day at a Time. Julie made the vest for me. It's beautiful. Well, I sold 2 designs last week. Coming in at number 7, we have Julie Cooper, played by Mackenzie Phillips, whose mysterious fade out from One Day at a Time left fans scratching their heads. Julie was Anne Romano's spirited eldest daughter, a headstrong force who brought both fire and feeling to the family dynamic. Screen, she got married to Max Horvath and gave birth to baby Annie. But off-screen, Phillips was navigating a far more turbulent story. Substance abuse plagued her throughout her time on the series. She was fired after season 5, later brought back in season 7, only to be dismissed again early in the final season after a relapse. The show tried to work around her absence, but barely. Julie's reappearances and disappearances were handled with all the finesse of a sitcom rewrite during a lunch break. One moment she was back, pregnant and separated. The next, gone without a trace. No heartfelt goodbye, no closing scene, just a vague mention here, maybe a letter there, and then silence. Julie simply vanished from the narrative. Ironically, this might be one of those rare cases where the real-life drama was more gripping than the fictional one. While viewers were left with empty explanations, Phillips was quietly fighting a battle that wouldn't become fully public until years later. For a character who once formed the emotional core of the series, the lack of closure felt downright cruel. Her departure wasn't just abrupt, it was hauntingly hollow. Julie Cooper's vanishing act remains one of television's most jarring and unresolved exits. A loud voice silenced without a final word. Do you think today's shows would handle a situation like this with more transparency, or even empathy? Let us know in the comments. Moving on to number 6, Richie Crawford, Family Matters. Family Matters might have been all about, well, family, but it had a strange habit of quietly dropping its own members. Case in point, Richie Crawford, who lands at number 6. Played by Brighton McClure, now known as Brighton James, Richie was the lovable son of Rachel, Thelma Hopkins, and an early fan favorite. With his wide-eyed charm and scene-stealing one-liners, Richie was often the perfect sidekick for Steve Urkel's over-the-top antics. Some of the show's most hilarious and heartwarming moments came from their unlikely pairing. The kid had better comedic instincts than actors twice his age. And that's what makes his disappearance all the more bizarre. Especially since Rachel, his mother, had already stepped back as a main character seasons earlier. When Thelma Hopkins left Family Matters around 1993 to headline her own sitcom, her on-screen son Richie stuck around with the Winslow clan. But by season 9, his appearances had dwindled down to nearly nothing. Final scene came in the Christmas episode Deck the Malls, after which he vanished faster than an elf clocking out on December 26. No farewell, no explanation. He was just gone. And yet, he was supposedly still living in that house. The Winslows never mentioned him again, as if he'd been Thanos snapped out of their reality. So, what happened? Behind the scenes, Family Matters was no longer the show it once was. What began as a warm, family-centric sitcom had evolved, actually, mutated, into the Steve Urkel science fiction hour. The spotlight had shifted fully onto its breakout character, and with it came time travel, cloning, and transformation potions. Yep. This once grounded series had gone full mad scientist. In a world of Urkel bots and shrinking rays, a down-to-earth kid like Richie just didn't fit anymore. His character became background noise in a universe of sci-fi chaos. Luckily, Brighton James didn't vanish in real life. He took a break from acting, then returned with a vengeance. In 2004, he landed the role of Devon Hamilton on The Young and the Restless, a gig that earned him multiple Daytime Emmy Awards. And in a delightful twist, he reunited with his Family Matters mom, Thelma Hopkins, when she joined the soap in 2021. Who says sitcom disappearances can't lead to soap opera success? Now, shifting from Chicago to Brooklyn, we arrive at number 5, Martin Kendall from The Cosby Show. America may have loved the Huxtables, but even they had a habit of quietly shuffling people off screen. Martin Kendall, played by Joseph C. Phillips, was introduced in season 6 as Denise Huxtable's surprise husband. He came complete with a young daughter, a Navy background, and plenty of side eyes from Cliff and Claire. But over time, Martin settled in, becoming a dependable and respectful presence in the Huxtable household. He popped up regularly from seasons 6 through 8, slowly gaining the audience's affection. Then, just as smoothly as he entered, Martin vanished. His final appearance was in the season 8 episode Olivia Comes Out of the Closet, aired in November 1991. And then, radio silence. By the final season, the explanation was that Martin had been stationed in Singapore, and Denise had followed him there, leaving little Olivia behind with her grandparents. Martin got name-dropped now and then, but never returned to the screen. It was one of those classic sitcom scenarios, two parents living on the other side of the planet, and yet everyone's cool with the kid staying behind. Weirdly casual, right? The oddest part, in the series finale, it's revealed via phone call that Denise is pregnant again, with Martin's child. Neither character makes an appearance. No emotional reunion, no video call, just a second-hand update before credits roll. Martin Kendall, once a surprise son-in-law, ultimately became another footnote in the sitcom disappearing act playbook. Talk about a long-distance relationship. This happened during NBC's reign as the king of Thursday night television. Must-see TV, they called it. With ratings that strong, they figured viewers wouldn't notice or care about something like, oh, I don't know, an entire character just disappearing. Joseph Phillips, the actor behind Martin Kendall, went on to enjoy a varied career in acting, commentary, and public speaking. But Martin Kendall's sudden exit remains one of primetime's strangest vanishing acts. Character who briefly stepped into America's living rooms, only to slip out the back door without a proper goodbye. Now, at number 4, we move to the Golden Girls, where, before Sophia, there was Coco, the original fifth resident of the girls' house, played by Charles Levin. Coco debuted in the pilot as the sassy cook and confidant, but after just one episode, he was gone. Talk about a short lease. So, what happened? Behind the scenes, the Golden Girls was reshuffling. Estelle Getty's Sophia Petrio, originally meant to be a minor character, stole the show in front of test audiences. The decision was swift. Sophia would stay full-time, and Coco, well, he became redundant. The cutthroat world of 80s television, there wasn't room for two characters throwing zingers in the kitchen. One had to go, and the tiny Sicilian with a handbag full of one-liners wasn't going anywhere. What didn't help was that the pilot ran long, and many of Coco's scenes were cut to fit. So, before he could even get a proper chance, his presence had already been watered down. Years later, Golden Girls writer Stan Zimmerman reflected on Coco's disappearance, admitting that while it was the right decision for the chemistry of the show, he regretted not getting to explore more of Coco's story. There was even an idea where he opened a bed and breakfast in Key West, but alas, that didn't come to fruition. And just like that, Coco became a trivia answer, a forgotten footnote in the show's history, one of those early decisions that shaped TV history. How many of you even remembered there was a fifth Golden Girl? Let us know in the comments. Now, coming in at number 3, we have Married with Children, the show that made being dysfunctional an art form. But even this R-rated sitcom, brimming with crude humor and outrageousness, decided to try something completely out of place. Enter Seven. Played by Shane Sweet, Seven was dropped onto the Bundy household in season 7 by Peggy's cousins. Idea: shake things up by adding a cute kid to the family. The result: total disruption. Seven's wide-eyed innocence clashed violently with the show's unapologetic, crude tone. Fans weren't having it. Hate mail flooded in, ratings took a hit, and what did Fox do? They pulled the plug. Just like that, after a handful of episodes, Seven disappeared without a word. No goodbye, no resolution, he was simply gone. But here's the kicker: in a blink and you'll miss it gag later in the season, Seven's face actually appeared on a milk carton, marked missing. A darkly hilarious nod from a show that never took itself too seriously. Seven's exit became legendary for all the wrong reasons, a perfect cautionary tale in sitcom history. A reminder that even the most outrageous shows have their limits. Sometimes, less family is more. Raise your hand if you completely blocked Seven from your memory of Married with Children. And now, at number 2, Judy Winslow from Family Matters. We need to talk about the show. These are our children, Eddie, Laura, and Judy. The youngest Winslow child, Judy, played by Jamie Foxworth, holds a special place in the hearts of fans, but not a visible place on the show. Judy Winslow, the adorable little sister from Family Matters, simply disappeared without a trace. Her last appearance came in the season 4 episode Mama's Wedding, where she played the flower girl, and then gone. No storyline, no goodbye, no mention of her ever again. One week she was part of the family, and the next it was like she never existed. Not a birthday, not a holiday gift, and not a single, "Hey, I wonder how Judy's doing." Nothing. There's this popular myth that she just walked upstairs and never came back down like Chuck Cunningham. But here's the twist: she was at a wedding in her last scene. Pop culture likes to blur these details, but after some serious digging, we've got it straight. So what happened? Behind the scenes, Family Matters was going through a major shift. Oh, which had started as a family sitcom, was becoming the Steve Urkel show. Urkel was a pop culture phenomenon, and Judy was the first casualty of that chain. These days, a situation like that would spark a Twitter storm and lead to countless think pieces. But back in the early 90s, networks could just erase a character with no explanation. Can you imagine if Modern Family just made Luke disappear after season 4 and never mentioned him again? Yeah, no. In this case, William Bickley, co-creator of Family Matters, blamed budget cuts, and Jalal White himself admitted that Judy's screen time had been reduced to mere cameos before she was quietly cut. Unlike other sitcoms, which may recast or write characters out, Family Matters just pretended Judy never existed. Answer: she became part of TV's greatest mystery, one that's still debated to this day. So, let us know in the comments. Do you think the Winslows win the award for worst TV parents ever for forgetting their own daughter? And now, for the #1 most infamous TV disappearance of all time. Chuck Cunningham from Happy Days. Chuck Cunningham is the character who literally started it all. If you've ever heard of Chuck Cunningham Syndrome, well, this is the man who made it a thing. It's the phenomenon of a character vanishing without explanation, like they never even existed. Know what you're thinking? Wasn't Happy Days from the 70s? Why is Chuck showing up in an 80s and 90s countdown? Simple answer: Chuck is the godfather of vanishing TV characters, and we make the rules here. He set the standard for TV's greatest disappearances. Chuck Cunningham, played by Gavin O'Herlihy in season 1 and later by Randolph Roberts, was Richie's older brother in the early seasons of Happy Days. Played basketball, was part of the family, and then, by season 3, he was just gone. No goodbye, no mention, not even a passing reference to the fact that the Cunninghams were suddenly a family of 3 kids instead of 4. It was like Chuck had never even existed. Behind the scenes, the writing was on the wall. O'Herlihy left after season 1 because he didn't want to play a character who just grunted and bounced a basketball every couple of weeks. Roberts stepped in, but Chuck never clicked with audiences. Meanwhile, Fonzie's leather jacket and charm started stealing the spotlight, and Chuck became expendable. It's even stranger when you think about the fact that Happy Days was set in the 1950s, a time of supposed traditional family values, and yet here's a family that simply forgot their older son. If this happened today, there'd be an entire podcast devoted to it. Seriously, Serial, we're looking at you. The fallout from Chuck's disappearance was so profound that it gave birth to an entire TV trope, Chuck Cunningham Syndrome, named after him. It's the perfect example of a character vanishing without explanation, and the show just acting like they never existed. More than 50 years later, Chuck's disappearance remains the gold standard of TV vanishing acts. It's a reminder that sometimes the most lasting impact a character can have is in how completely they're forgotten. And that, friends, is the legacy of Chuck Cunningham. That's a wrap on our countdown of 10 TV characters who disappeared without a trace. Which of these blink and you miss them faces do you actually remember? Or maybe you've got one that we missed. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into TV's strangest mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to catch our next look at forgotten gems and TV oddities.